Hello everyone, Brainerd Carey here, Director of Praxis Center, and today I want to talk to you about grants, free money for artists, and give you resources to apply. So what is a grant? What is free money? Is that real? Yeah, it is real. And the way grants work is there are grants for individuals and there are grants for organizations. As an artist, most likely without an organization, which means you have to have a nonprofit status and more, as an artist, you're applying for grants for individuals. That means if you get the grant, the check is written directly to you. Now, I want to say a few things about grants. Grants don't cost money to apply to. So if you're being charged to apply to a grant, don't apply. That's likely a scam. You can always ask me things in the comments here, but essentially grants are money that is put aside to give out to artists in various countries and in various mediums in different ways. So as an artist, you're eligible. And what does that mean? It means you have to find a grant, and I'll put a list of them below, organizations that give grants. You have to find a grant and you have to apply for it. So, there's a few catches here always. One is the artist just doesn't apply, right? This is, common and understandable. Grants mean you have to sit down and you have to read the overview of the grant and you have to fill it out. Often it's really not much work. It would all be done in an hour. But the idea of applying for a grant for many just seems like something they'd rather not do. But it's literally free money. And when you get $1,000 or $10,000, then you realize, wow, this was worth sitting down to do. Now, again, grants are competitive, which doesn't mean it's really hard to get one, but it means you are competing with other artists. But generally, a lot of artists don't apply for grants, period. For the same reason, probably you might not have applied for grants before, or very few. They'd rather not do it. They don't feel like it, or it seems like it's too good to be true. Well, especially throughout the pandemic in 2021 and into 2020 and into 2021, there's a lot of grants being created and given out because a lot of arts organizations couldn't do their normal programming, so they put all their funding into grants. And here's another kind of amazing thing about what happened in 2020 to nonprofits. The organizations that gave out grants, and this is from the Guggenheim organization to just about every other organization, the way they give out money is they have a lot of it in the bank, right, that they've raised through donations, and that money in the bank generates interest. Well, in 2020, it seems all of these organizations generated more interest than they ever have. So they have more money to give out, ironically, throughout the pandemic and ongoing. They now have more money. So I would encourage you to look at the list in the description here and to apply for a grant. A few things to know to apply for grants is this. Step one, pick out 5 grants you want to apply to. If you just apply to one, the chances you will get that one, is slim, right? You need to apply to several. This is a numbers game. And also if you apply to 1 or 2 and you don't get it, you'll think, this isn't worth it. This isn't my game. I don't want to do this. So, apply to several. And the way that works is number 1, go through the list below and pick out let's say 7 grants, 7 grants that you want to apply to. And then put the dates of when those grants, so this is number 2. Number 1, pick out 7 grants. Number 2, put the dates in your calendar of when those grants are due, right? When you have to turn them in. And then work back a week, right? Finish grant and then work back 2 weeks from when the grant's due and put a note in your calendar to begin writing that grant. Because what gives you the best shot at a grant is taking your time, right? Most people end up doing it at the last minute. Oh, the deadline's coming up. Let me get this out. And then inevitably there are compromises. So what I would suggest is that you look through the list below, that you take the time today, if possible, to just tag 7 grants that you think, yeah, these might work for me. These seem appropriate. And then put the dates in the calendar of when they're due. Work back 1 week, put the date in the calendar there that says finish up the grant, and then move back 1 more week that says begin working on the grant. So what that equals in the end is you see a date coming up in your calendar, it says begin working on the grant. That means there's 2 weeks until the grant's due. So you read through the grant in that first week, and maybe you start doing a little bit of work on it. But then when you see the second notification that says 1 week till the grant's due, begin filling out that grant, because there's nothing like getting it done without being on the deadline. And not only that, when you're filling out the grant, you may have questions. You may think, I don't understand what they're asking for here, or what do they mean by a mission or a statement or this or that, because it's always different with everybody. Then you have the chance to write to the organization or call them and ask, because that's what they're there for. They want to give out grants to artists, and they want good applications. So it's okay to call them up and say, what's going on? How do I do this one thing here? They will tell you, or send them an email. That's what they're there for. So I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And in the description here, you'll see a list of grants.